It's always nice to be clapped onto the stage. Did you guys see that picture of me? That is my least favorite picture on the planet. So whenever I speak to a group, I'm always wondering which headshot it's going to be. Sadly, it was the blue headshot. So I apologize for that. I'm sure there are a lot of other great pictures that could have been used, but it's the blue one. So it sounds really attractive to move to Estonia. How many of you guys would like to move to Atlanta, Georgia, in the U.S.? Show of hands. None? One, two? Yeah, one brave soul over there, maybe one back here. Well, Atlanta is a great city. But I think what's been so unique about being here just in the last couple of days, what stood out for me is how different it is to be somewhere where you didn't grow up, where you don't speak the language, where you might not know how to fit in. Very seldom does that happen to me in Atlanta, Georgia, or in the United States, but it's very grounding when you recognize that there's a whole world outside of what you're most comfortable with, and that we have to assimilate in order to be able to fit in and in order to be able to adapt. So today I'm going to talk with you a little bit about how it is to be better together, and I'm going to do it on behalf of growing leaders. And so I guess I need to find the clicker. And I'm probably going to need to use my glasses to make sure that I can advance it appropriately. So, growing leaders. There's a gentleman called Dr. Tim Elmore. And Dr. Tim Elmore is the CEO and founder of Growing Leaders. And earlier this year, he asked me if I would participate on the board. And I was absolutely flattered, and I'll call it fangirl flattered, because I'm a fan of Dr. Tim Elmore and his concepts. And so what's really interesting about this nonprofit organization is that it's served over 500,000 young leaders in 70 countries, 10,000 schools and organizations all around the world. Who wouldn't want to be a part of an organization like that? And I'm going to ask you what you think about this concept. So in the world today and in the workplace today, some of the biggest challenges are things like we've got a huge portion of our population that's going to be retiring, right? I'm going to count myself in that number, and it won't be very long. At the same time, we've got a huge population of younger or early career talent individuals who are entering the workplace. What a conundrum. Probably people are retiring, baby boomers. And I don't know if anybody wants to raise their hand to say that they might be a baby boomer. I'm going to identify with the millennial population. Of course, that is not true. I was not born between 1984 and 2000, so I don't fit that requirement. But it's interesting because with people retiring from work and experienced leaders, like maybe some of you and me, are leaving the workforce, and at the same time and at a faster pace, younger, early career talent is entering the workplace. What do you think some of the challenges might be about that? Anybody? Come on, it's after lunch, you did your exercises. Come with me. What do you think? What are some of the challenges? Transferring the knowledge, for sure. As experienced leaders, how do we share our knowledge with those early career, younger team members or leaders who are coming into our companies and our organizations? What else? What other challenges? Different approaches. We've talked a lot about technology today. I am of the generation that did not grow up with an iPad or a cell phone in my hand. I thought we were super cool when we had the bag phones. I don't know if you guys had those, but back when I was growing up, and they were extremely expensive. And so you had this big bag that almost looked like a small purse, and you were the coolest if you had one of those. You take it to your car, you take it to the office with you. Bag phones were the thing. Also, there were pay phones. When I was a girl, my mom wouldn't let me go anywhere without a dime, because a dime allowed me to make a phone call if I needed to do so. Eventually, it became a quarter, and then eventually, payphones went away, and my children have never seen the likes of a payphone. So the world is changing. You're right. All of those are reasons why organizations like Growing Leaders are going to make a huge difference in the way that companies approach bringing new employees into their organizations, but not only attracting them to come work for you, but how do you get them to stay, right? I talked a little bit about feeling like an outsider, which has been a gift these last couple of days. But do most people enjoy feeling like an outsider? Do you all? How often have you felt like you were in a conversation talking with somebody about something that they completely understood? So like me, it would be golf. If I go and enter a circle of people talking about golf, I'm going to be pretty lost. I'm going to feel like an outsider. The people that are talking about it, insiders. Think about how often our new career talent entering the workforce, maybe even as a leader of you and me or other teams, do you think they feel like outsiders or insiders? They probably go back and forth between both. So organizations like Growing Leaders will help us to build the next generation of leaders and of workers. So I am Nicole Ashe. I am Senior Vice President of Human Resources, Talent, Diversity, Learning, Culture, and Change. It's quite a mouthful. What do you think about that title? Any thoughts? It's too long. I agree with you. It's too long. It's too many things. What else? Have you heard that title before? No? Any title here in Slovenia that has culture in it? No? It was an interesting phenomenon. Not that many titles in the U.S. have the word culture. So if it's a part of my title, don't you think maybe it means that the company is intentional about how we view our culture? If it's important enough to go into my title, it's probably an important role. And oftentimes people say, what does it feel like to be an SVP? Well, some days it feels pretty scary. Some days it feels great. I had somebody who is under 30 who's on my team, and she came to me one day in her very candid, very millennial way and said, Nicole, what do SVPs do all day? It seems like you guys just meet, have coffee, kind of chat, relax. What do you guys do every day? I thought it was such a provocative question, and it was so honest coming from someone who was really genuine and an employee that I spend a lot of time with. Because even though I'm really close to the C-suite, or the CEOs and CTOs and CIOs, I don't ever want to be viewed as a person who's in an ivory tower just because I've got that title. So I loved it that she asked me that question. And I gave her a response. And I asked her, does that sound like meaningful work? And she said, kinda. So I think we've still got an opportunity to compel people, her name is Casey Parker, like Casey, to help them understand what the workplace of today looks like. But I also want Casey to be able to define what the workplace of tomorrow looks like. So, title aside, there are many more important things to focus on than that. Did you all know that by 2025, millennials, so people born between 1984 and 2000, will make up 70% of the global workforce? It's back to that comment that I made about retirement and workplace entry. It's a real thing. Very soon, millennials will make up the majority of the workforce. Are you ready? Are your CEOs ready? Are your human resources teams ready? Are you ready? Show of hands. Do you think that if you identify yourself as a leader, that by 2025, you're ready for the millennials? Yes? I've got a few brave ones. Out of the audience, it looks like 10 or 15. So that means you should join me tomorrow for my session so we can talk about what it's going to take to really propel this group forward. And so what I'd like to do is, because I mentioned to you Growing Leaders, I sit on the board. Dr. Tim Elmore asked me to sit on the board, so I am not an employee of Growing Leaders. I'm actually an employee of a company called Cox Automotive. How many of you have heard of Mannheim Auto Auctions, the largest auto auction house in the world? Anybody? Mannheim Auto Auctions? So, we still run cars through lanes for dealers to be able to buy and sell automobiles to put on their lots for sale. And that's a huge part of our business. We have about 34,000 global employees, and my role is responsible for talent, diversity, learning, culture, and change for all of those team members worldwide. It's a pretty big responsibility, and the company's really fascinating and great. One of the things that we recognize quickly is one piece of our employer proposition is our culture. So 33 or 34,000 global team members, privately held, still family-owned. The CEO is a fourth-generation family member. We've got locations, 76 locations across the United States, and about 40 that are international. How do you think you create a culture in an organization as large as that? What do you think the tenets are of a company that has a culture that attracts, retains, and mobilizes top talent? I'm going to show you a video that we created that is all about our employees. And it's a little bit about what they do at work, but it's mostly about what they're passionate about and what talent they have outside of work. And this is a little bit of a teaser for what we'll talk about tomorrow, because there's such a blur between work and life. So early career team members want to feel like life and work connect, and that we understand them in the workplace, and it's not just all about the almighty dollar or about the task list or the tick list that they're responsible for the day, but they want to feel a sense of belonging, and they want to feel a sense of purpose. So I'm going to show you this video so that you can see the way that Cox Automotive views culture.
With ease and flexibility. Emergency responders.
Can we start it one more time? I think the beginning is powerful. Thank you.
We come from every walk of life, from every background, from across the street to around the world. Explorers, mining data for those aha moments that can change the course of an entire industry. Choreographers, moving inventory in record time. Visionaries, designing and building the technology that connects car buyers and sellers in new and better ways. And incubators, cultivating entirely new ways of moving people with ease and flexibility. Emergency responders, solving problems daily and offering strategic guidance for our clients. Ambassadors, connecting commerce and people globally. And fighters, facing the competitors head-on. But we're also authors and athletes, parents, musicians and rescuers, artists, carpenters, and performers. We proudly celebrate diversity. Recognizing what makes us unique is also what unifies us. We tirelessly uplift and protect our communities. And we're relentlessly dedicated to reducing our impact on the planet.
I am Cox Automotive.
I am Cox Automotive.
I am Cox Automotive.
I am Cox Automotive.
Also Cox Automotive.
I am Cox Automotive.
I am Cox Automotive. I am Cox Automotive.
I am Cox Automotive.
I am Cox Automotive.
I am Cox Automotive.
We are Cox Automotive. And together, we are transforming the way the world buys, sells, and owns cars.
I am Cox Automotive. I really am. I'm one of those individuals who's up there on the screen, and I believe, like they do, that our culture comes together both in the office and outside of the office. It involves sustainability and conservation and interest in nature and looking for the next big idea in technology. We're all Cox Automotive. So that's a little bit of a peek into one of the very first videos that we show our employees before they ever start. So new employees receive the link to that video as a part of our welcome package before they ever show up on the campus, because we want them to know what type of company that they're joining. And we did a study looking at employees who received that video versus those who did not, and our retention rates vastly different from employees who received that video and felt like they had a sense of a connection and a sense of belonging before they ever started on day number one. So it's amazing how one thing can create a movement, can change people's viewpoints, and can really connect people with an organization. So I hope you found that inspiring. And so tomorrow, I want to tell you a little bit about what we're going to do. So we're going to talk about how you can create engaging environments using diversity in order to allow employees to flourish. So when you think about diversity, what do you think that means? Any thoughts? Well, so the common definition, and I call it my grandmother's definition of diversity and inclusion, really often makes people in the United States very uncomfortable. It feels like you're asking them to do something that they're not already doing. It's like, well, we are diverse and inclusive, Nicole. We've got 3 or 4 women who work in our group. We've got, fill in the blank, 3 or more people of color who work in our group. We don't need to focus on diversity and inclusion. And what I say to them is a diverse and inclusive environment means inclusion of everyone. It's not just about women and people of color. It's about all of those folks that you saw on that video who bring a different perspective to the table, who bring different experiences and different ideas. Any company is going to go to the marketplace stronger if you have a diverse and inclusive environment. If you have many minds at the table thinking of what the next best piece of technology is going to be, you'll be stronger in the marketplace. We're also going to talk about organizational culture and what's appealing to young talent versus people who have been in the workforce and in the workplace for longer periods of time. What do we need to do differently in order to engage those new and early career talent? We're going to talk about how mentoring programs that help young employees as well as older employees or more experienced employees come together. There's this concept called reverse mentoring. 5 years ago, it used to be that if you said you wanted a mentor, it was very simple. That person was more experienced than you, generally speaking, had more years in the workforce than you, and the mentee was the younger person, less experienced, and looking to gain the most from the relationship. Today, with reverse mentoring, it means that someone like Casey Parker, who is asking me what SVPs do all day, might be mentoring me, because maybe she comes into the workforce knowing something that I don't know 22 years in. So let's talk tomorrow about mentoring programs that both engage early career talent and also experienced talent to keep them in the workforce, and how you create those programs. What are they like? Because again, it's back to a sense of belonging. So have I convinced you, because I'm so competitive, to join me tomorrow for the workshop? You can let me know by just clapping. Thank you.